I'm Anita. Welcome to Geek Dogs and DID. I got that part right. I'm with Cat Tulip. Yay. Danny does this, not me. And we're part of our series on DID and D&D, which is exploring dissociative identity disorder through the use of D&D. I am Anita. I am one of the Alters, for those of you that haven't met me before, and I never do intros.
Just great.
I think I did it. I think that's okay. Danny's floating around somewhere, but we've had a bit of an iffy week, so there won't be any Luna today unless literally a unicorn appears.
I don't even think mentioning it's going to be enough for Luna. I think one would actually have to walk in shot. It would
have to be visible, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not enough to bring. She's off in the back with like earplugs in, just ignoring reality at the minute, along with everyone else. So I'm here. So for those that don't know me, I am an alter in the Chaos Collective. My name's Anita. I'm a protector alter, which means that I tend to come to the front when shit's going down. I talk our way out of things. I have very little cares about stuff, so nothing really bothers me. My focus is on us and looking after us. So I tend to be a bit blunt, and people can be offended by me really easily because I don't think before I speak. I just do what's best for us. So if there's times where I need to kind of take Danny away, I will just ignore everyone for ages, and I'll be like, you'll be fine. I do what needs to, so my character's gonna be quite interesting.
Yeah, and what's gonna be really interesting, so we've just had a little chat about this before we started recording, and my mind's already going, I love the fact that, you know, we've got so many different levels of protection in different ways, because Luna is also very focused on protecting and looking after, but it's a very different form of it, you know. She wants, so we've chosen for her a bard because, you know, she can kind of just want to get hands on, but she can, you know, in the background be helping, supporting, keeping everyone together. We've chosen
like a cheerleader in the background, like motivating people and go, sure.
And I think the two choices we had of her bard college, so we had College of Maestro and College of Glamour, and the feedback from the internet was that, and it was really sweet actually. I just want to very quickly say thank you, Hanno, for your input line, because having watched all the videos, he came back and said, I just think College of Glamour is too manipulative for Luna. I think College of Maestro is perfect. So singing and dancing, being a cheerleader, taking the sounds of the battlefield and making it beautiful, whereas I think for you it's a much more, and obviously we've talked about how Sonia's going to be a protector, but in a very physical way.
She's the physical protector, so if we're ever in physical danger, she's the one that will switch out and will
do the fight.
Yeah, she'll take down, but in a controlled way. So she will just make someone unable to harm us. So usually some kind of restraint.
Yeah.
But she's a fictive, so she's based on the comic book character Red Sonja.
Yeah. I think we have explained to people what fictive before is, but do we want to just explain again?
We can do, as I'm in theory a fictive myself. So fictives they're basically fictional characters that are brought to life through DID. So what happens is, when we talk about this, you have to remember that DID is created in the mind of a child, first of all. So it is whatever a child thinks would be able to protect them and hide them or keep them safe from that trauma, which is why a lot of people with DID will have non-human alters. So they'll have like wolves, or they'll have fairies, some will have vampires or demons. It's if I was this thing, this wouldn't be happening, or if this person was here, they could protect me. So that's how that's kind of formed. And then, because that's the brain's response to trauma, for any trauma that happens afterwards with someone with DID, there is only potential for a new alter to form. So when I was created, Danny absolutely loves Laurell K and the Anita Blake Vampire Hunter series. I'm based on Anita Blake, who is a human necromancer. She is an executioner, and she basically works alongside the police to solve crimes and murder mysteries, and uses her preternatural powers to suppress vampires. But of course she's human, so she is very skilled in martial arts and guns and sword fighting, but she tries to use her mouth a lot to kind of stay away from things. So she's very protective of herself. She holds a lot of anger, but she doesn't explode. So she talks about going to this cold, dark place where she could think quietly and do what needs to be done, which is very much where I come from. My character, well, myself, is based more on her earlier books. Later on in the books, they get into a very erotic, polyamorous, multi-bestial sort of relationship dynamic. It's very interesting if you're into that kind of stuff. I don't relate so much to that part. It's more the strong protector force and the fact that she is this small petite lady that is just so powerful. And Danny always loved her, so when she was going through stuff, it was basically if this person was here, and that's kind of how we think I was created as an alter. So I don't, with some fictives, they will see themselves as coming straight from the book. So they will hold any memories of what they have been through in the book as their own. So it can be quite traumatic for some fictives to suddenly be taken out of the world that you know with your friends and family and brought straight into a new one. Others are created based on this person, but they don't actually hold the memories. So that's more me, is I'm based more on Anita, but I don't hold the memories of the characters that I knew in the books, if that makes sense.
No, that does. That's really interesting, because I was going to ask, if you didn't mind, some questions, as you know, we have the advantage to have a fictive with us today. Yeah. I was actually, as you were talking, I was thinking, I wonder what that must feel like to be a persona or to be an alter and be a person. Obviously, the hard thing with being an alter is this feeling of not being real in the first instance.
Yeah.
And then as a fictive, there's a second element of not being real because you've been actually taken from a fictive fiction or a novel. Yeah. And I just wonder how that changes for an alter who's fictive.
It's really weird, because to realize that you're an alter, I mean, in theory, everyone is an alter. Everyone's an apparently normal personality, including Danny the host, because we're all parts of the same thing. But to realize that you're an alter and that you share a life is weird. To know that you are from a different world, a different perspective. I mean, in theory, I'm a necromancer. You know, I mean, I don't have powers or anything like that. Even in the Narina world, I don't have powers, which is very frustrating because I would. But
because do you know and have the memory of? Well, you say you don't have Anita's memory, but you know who Anita is and what you should be able to do. I suppose that's
very frustrating for me, because it's almost like it's like I don't belong in either, because I'm not like a normal alter. I'm based on a fictive, but I'm not a true fictive because I don't hold the memories. Whereas Sonia full on believes that she is Red Sonia. You know, she is straight from the comics. She remembers the characters. She remembers the pain of going through the stuff that she did when she became She-Devil, but she's reincarnated that many times. She's based on the original, like, Gail Simone sort of stage, and she remembers the loss of her family, which is very strange for Danny to deal with, because she's got all this loss and grief and anger over the loss of something that didn't happen to her, and actually didn't even happen to the alter.
No.
But I think what people tend not to realize is if something feels true to someone, it's their truth. If they relate to something, they relate to it. It doesn't matter whether you can understand it. You just have to accept that that is what they're feeling. And I guess tend to get pushed aside a lot because of that.
And I guess that's the important part for any alter, really. But and for the person who's the host, because like you said, you know, and that actually answers one of the questions I was going to ask. Is Danny actually an alter or not? But I guess it's what an alter means is an alter is one of the personalities, and Danny is one of the personalities within the Chaos Collective. It's just that she is also the host.
Yeah, it's just she's the one that is out the more. She holds the legal name. Well, her and Danielle hold the legal name.
Yeah.
If you kind of, it's based on structural dissociation theory. So everyone starts off with multiple personalities. As you grow up, if you grow up in a safe and securely bonded family, all those personalities integrate together and perform one. So there's a lovely video by by Multiplicity and me, and she was holding an orange as she did this. So the orange had all the segments in it, and it closed up to form a whole orange. With people with DID, the trauma stops that integration, so the segments stay segmented. It's still an orange, it's still a whole orange. It's just they're not as
good as an orange.
Yeah, so rather than, for we see it as servers because gaming.
Okay.
So basically, each of the personalities are on a different server within the same world. So if you think of things like Guild Wars, World of Warcraft, you all play the same game, you're all in the same world, but the characters you associate with will be different depending on different servers. Yeah. And if you've got friends that are on the US server, not the European ones, you can't really communicate and play with them as much because you're all on. So everyone's like, which server you're on, so you can be on the same stuff. So we have access to everything on our own servers. I would be like a hacker that could swap between different servers because I'm the protector and the gatekeeper, so I can do all of that. So we're all part of the same world and game, but we have access to different stuff.
Do you know what I really love is talking to each somebody. So now I've had conversations with Danny and Luna and now yourself, Anita.
Which is in itself, I guess.
What's really fascinating is the different ways you explain it with what's your own references. So, for example, Danny is a massive geek, and so uses a lot of Guardians of the Galaxy explanations when she's explaining hers. But you, again, totally different explanation to get to the same point by using gaming servers and looking at it that way. And I just love the fact that each of you are explaining it very slightly different. And I think actually now I feel like I need to have, every time I speak to a different to get you to explain it from your point of view, because it's really interesting hearing, because some people might not relate to Danny's explanation because maybe they don't know Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean, seriously, I don't know why, but maybe they don't.
Maybe they don't.
Or geeks, yeah. So, but a gamer or someone who's, really into, or like any like really heavy IT person who's into servers and all of this is going to go, oh no, I kind of get that. So I really like this sort of different explanation each time.
Yeah, Danny wouldn't have a clue what I'm on about my different servers. He'd be like, it's computers.
So point, I suppose we should. Do you want me to recap, or do you want to recap?
You recap, because I can't remember that much. I know you've made Luna a unicorn.
Yeah, sorry, I did make Una a unicorn. Unicorn? A unicorn?
That's her name. She's now a unicorn.
Yeah. But what I was thinking about, so one of the things that Danny was saying is obviously how Luna really wanted to be a tiefling, but we didn't feel the tiefling's representation was right for Luna.
No, that's true.
But what I like is the idea of something that is bipedal, so upright, so is standing. I'm kind of thinking of something that looks slightly faun-esque. So maybe like the tieflings have the hoof legs, so like a horse's lower legs and hooves. But actually human on the top half. I found some stats for a half human, half unicorn. Basically, the idea is that they've been touched by the celestial, so they've grown into this celestial unicorn being.
Okay, cool.
Which I think would be quite cool for
her.
So last session, last conversation, that's what we decided, and we've set her as a bard and a College of Maestro, because as soon as she found out she could sing and dance all the way around the battlefield, she was happy. Yeah. And then we got as far as rolling Luna's stats. What Luna didn't enjoy, I think, was the rolling the stats.
I love dice. Why wouldn't she want to roll stats? That's like the best part.
It kept making her do like thinking. Because that was the point at which she switched out and Danny switched back in halfway through rolling stats.
She's like, oh, this is boring now.
Yeah, pretty much. And then Danny came back and was like, so we're rolling dice, are we? Okay. What do we do?
Yeah.
So that's where we got to last time. And for all of those who want to know where we'll take Luna's sheet, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send all of the stuff to Danny, Chaos Collective, whoever receives it at the time, so that Danny can then choose where Luna's stats are going to go and actually create the sheet with that information.
Yeah.
Or if Danny wants me to do it,
we could do it as a video or as a live one if people wanted to join us live.
Yeah. So I was thinking we probably want to get to that stage with everybody else, and then we can just do maybe something with all of them.
Yeah, if
you haven't watched the last one and you're watching this now, when you finish, just go back and watch it, because the contrast is it's massive, and actually even the contrast between Anita and Danny is.
That's the one that I found the most interesting. Is going from Danny to Luna. It's huge, but people could be like, oh yeah, she's just really excited. The coming back, it's just so kind of, you just see the slightly staring, and then and like the voice changes, like the first thing that you notice, and like the mannerisms, and even as Danny's kind of laughing and getting a bit excited, you can just hear and see that it is nowhere near the level that.
No, that's what's interesting. And talking to you today, I know Danny has said before that the pitch difference between her and yourself.
Yeah.
And I like sitting here now talking to you, I can hear the slight pitch difference, but also
I'm a lot lower.
And it changes the accent slightly. Like you all have a very slightly. You do actually. There is a difference in the way you sound, and I'm starting to pick those up. I still think my favourite bit was when Danny switched back, and she's like, "Why is my hair a mess?" And I was like, "Oh yeah." Luna's been doing this, but she'd been doing it on both sides, and Danny was like, "Oh no, my hair is so bad." Yeah, and it's a really an interesting like key signifier. Luna has a very, very strong mannerisms that very easy to identify. And actually, at this point, if there's anybody watching this, what we wanted to say is obviously if you still got questions for Danny. But even if you've got questions for the Chaos Collective or for one of the other alters, so, maybe you want to talk, if you've got a question for Anita, or, for Luna, and as you meet the others, you might have a question, because that's quite interesting, is having the different feedback. But we also can say, obviously, if you've got any questions for me as well on what it's like, and we're going to hopefully cover this a little bit, but, if you've got questions, or if you just want to know more about us, because trust me, the Chaos Collective is the different interests. We've just had gaming as an analogy, and Anita is a massive hardcore gamer. In fact, is the reason why most of the time people get annoyed playing with Danny when she starts off and she's not great, and then Anita gets frustrated and takes over. So, but has very different interests and hobbies to Luna, for example.
Yeah. And I'm frustrated myself a lot at the minute, because everyone's a bit iffy inside, so to keep everyone stable I generally game. But the game that's best to keep everyone calm, especially the little and the younger ones, is Kingdom Hearts 3, which is a game I enjoy. I'd rather be playing The Last of Us.
You're a bit more of a serious gamer.
Yeah, I like Kingdom Hearts 3. It's fun, but it's very button bashy. I'd rather be playing Borderlands or, Last of Us or Horizon or something along those lines, where there's a little bit of skill involved. I get to actually think and dodge around. But Kingdom Hearts, it has the Disney, it eases the littles. So even with the gaming, I'm like...
You're like, I'm doing this for you guys. I'm not getting anything out of this.
Yeah, it's like I'm just doing this. And I don't have a gaming PC at the minute, which is really annoying. So I've not played League of Legends for ages, and I'm just like... Guild Wars characters just sat there doing nothing.
Oh, bless you. Well, hopefully, they'll start to be a bit more cohesive.
Yeah.
Until
the next thing happens. But it's life with DID. It happens. And
yeah. And I think, the important thing actually is it's not just, although this is life with DID, but in general, it's life with mental health, I'm okay today. We'll see what tomorrow brings.
Yeah, it's like living day to day.
Yeah. So, on that note, your character.
Let's roll.
Yeah. So, now, as you've been talking, before we recorded, me and Anita have been talking about the fact that the type of different fighter she'd be to Sonia. We're very sure that Sonia will choose something like Barbarian.
Oh yeah.
And I had suggested a couple of fighter classes. Now I'm having another rethink, because there's some stuff you said, and I thought. So I'm thinking there's a couple of choices.
Okay.
I'm thinking Gunslinger. I'm thinking a slightly Percy style Gunslinger. So you've got the skill at fighting, but you would also be quite good with the fairly decent charisma for talking your way out of situations.
I forgot completely about the Gunslinger class.
I had until you were talking, and I was like, I just feel like Anita would be an awesome gunslinger.
Yeah, because Anita has her Browning. Well, I have my Browning gun. In the books, it's by my bed every night. Is like when I go out, there's like guns strapped everywhere with like daggers and knives, and there's like a sword down my back.
The other thing I was thinking of dagger and swords was or something roguish. So I was thinking like a swashbuckler, which is a very right, let me find the swashbuckler class, because the advantage of the swashbuckler class, they're actually designed to be much more fighting than your normal rogue sneaking around. So they have fancy footwork. They're all about using swords. You quite often encouraged to make them two-handed, so you can be swinging the swords all around, and you have like parry skills and things. So I thought that might be something, but I don't know. I think Gunslinger might work quite well.
I think I forgot about Gunslinger completely. I think we would have to go through that because I'm very much a gun.
Yeah, actually, I think that's perfect for you.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. You are a Gunslinger. Done. So yeah, I think I can't see, unless obviously anybody's watching this at home and you know has a more of an understanding of Anita Blake than I do, has any suggestions for me?
Yeah, if there's any Anita Blake fans out there, I mean, if you haven't read the books, there's Marvel Comics as well. She is a Marvel character. Which a lot of people don't know about. If you could make Anita Blake a character, what would you? Help me out. I'm like guilty pleasures sort of Anita here. We're not talking like Narcissus and Chains, but that will make sense to people that have read the books.
There's basically a few people out there right now going, oh yeah, no, totally get it, and then there's a whole bunch of other people like, no idea.
Google Anita Blake.
No idea. Go watch or go read, go find out, and then you'll have an idea.
Yeah.
So, and one of the things, so we have, I'll be honest, we had a cheeky conversation before we came on. So we have discussed races as well. Now, this is where I realised, oh no, I might have the book I wanted.
Oh, and the doggo arrived. Here we go.
It's like, I don't know if I've got the book I need.
I know.
This book I need, that's the one I want. So, we've been thinking, oh, I don't know, it's too many books. So, we had discussed an Assimar, so I was just going to look at the Assimar.
Could you be an Assimar gunslinger? That would be pretty cool.
You could be an Assimar gunslinger. There's nothing to say that an Assimar doesn't. I mean, gunslingers don't need to have particularly, you know, charisma score, so that would help the chatting. Actually, that works really well, having an Assimar that has their charisma score, but they get a bonus for their charisma score, and a gunslinger. So that works really well together in the, you know, using...
Talking my way out of trouble.
Yeah.
But they also are quite good intimidation as well, aren't they? So like.
Yeah. Well, because we discussed having the fallen one, which has one of their abilities is that they can so they have their necrotic shroud and they transform into they unleash their divine energy and they cause their eyes to turn into pools of darkness and two skeletal ghostly flightless wings sprout. The instant they transform, other creatures within 10 feet of them must make a charisma saving throw or become frightened until the end of your next turn.
That'd be cool, because that way I would just have like a very intimidating presence.
Yeah.
Just from... Yeah, which is what Anita's like anyway. I mean, she's a necromancer and she's in a world of vampires, so in theory she can like control them, but...
Well, this also works well because the fallen Assimar is their...
Are they resistant to necrotic?
They do. So I think it's... Yes. So basically you get resistance depending on whether you're a fallen Assimar or a protector Assimar, which is... or a Scrouge Assimar. So basically you're either a fallen Assimar or not. If you're a fallen Assimar, it's necrotic, and if you're not a fallen, you can basically use the radiant damage.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, that would work quite well. Just seeing what the other ones are. So you've got the Protector Assimar. Okay. They're charged by the powers of good to guard the weak and strike evil wherever it arises. This time you create your eyes go a luminous your eyes glimmer and can become two luminous wings appear. You get to fly quite a lot and do radiant damage.
That is
no. I think the intimidating one sounds better.
Yeah.
Should we read the other one?
My eyes do go black in the book as well after one of the Obsidian books, so
I thought that worked quite well. Yeah.
Would work really well with me.
Or this one, you are imbued with the divine energy that blazes intensely within. It feeds a powerful desire to destroy evil, a desire that is at best unflinching and at its worst all-consuming. Many scrowl to Assimar wear masks to block out the world and focus on containing the power, unmasking themselves only in battle. You can unleash your divine energy, causing a searing light to radiate from you, pour out of your eyes and mouth, and threaten to char you. Basically, you can do radiant damage to people. I still quite like the intimidating, the frightening people.
Yeah.
Because I feel like you would more likely want to win a battle by making people frightened of you and to fuck off than actually necessarily hurt them. Hurt them is the last resort.
Yeah, it's very much I will threaten, but like, do you actually want to start something right now? And hope that like the intimidation and stuff is enough that they don't call my bluff. Essentially, we will back up, and of course, as a collective, we have Sonia to help. But in like a roleplay D&D situation, we would be more kind of just bluffing our way through and just hoping the intimidation is enough to do that.
Basically, you'll hurt someone, but as a last resort, you'll get through everything else first.
Yeah.
Unless Sonia gets there.
Yeah, because it's like we'll do whatever it takes to look after us. I will protect us and the party that we're with. I have no emotional attachments to things. So it's like I won't go out of my way to hurt someone, but I'm not against doing so.
Yeah.
Essentially.
That's right. So we're saying Assimar.
Okay. Assimar Gunslinger. That sounds pretty cool.
Assimar Gunslinger Outfallen. Okay. Well, that was so much quicker than we got to with Luna's.
I'm a lot more blunter and precise, to be fair.
And also the problem was it was interesting switching from Danny, who knows about D&D, to Luna, who doesn't really at all. So I went from Danny coming up with suggestions to then having to go back and what's really interesting is when you sit down and you do this as a DM, you kind of in your mind you prepare for dealing with someone, you kind of go in with the knowledge of where your player is at. Going in, okay, Danny understands about D&D, so this, and then changing halfway through to someone who was like, what's that?
I don't know what it is.
Yeah, and suddenly you're having to backtrack and be like, all right, now we have to switch gears and go into new person D&D talk, not, which was really interesting, like just having that real change halfway through. Yeah. It's something that I hadn't really thought about until that happened, that I tend to have an understanding or an expectation of what the person I'm sitting down to help them build their character, what their knowledge is. You know, you think about the way you explain D&D to a new player, trying to minimise the amount of information and not overloading them and not getting too in depth with it. When you're talking to someone who has played D&D before, you can be throwing out all these different things and kind of jumping ahead a little bit. So I had to kind of pull back suddenly with Luna, and that if anybody wants to, that's one of the weird things that's happened for me so far. It's just having that like brain change of conversation.
Yeah.
As you like dice, do you want to roll your stats?
Yeah, I'm good for all my dice.
4d6.
I think I only have 3d6.
I think it's the same amount as you had last time.
It will be.
So if you roll 3, read the numbers out, and then roll one more and read that number out for me, and we'll do that 6 times. Man, I explained that so much better this time around than last time with Luna.
Yeah, it's like I have like half a polyhedral set here. I'm missing I have like loads of that, and like the d6 for that color is like missing, and like the d6 of that color is missing. I don't know if it's Luna messing around with dice or if it's like Reese that's just stolen them.
I suppose in your life that could be many people.
Could be anything. We're just used to things. So I had 3d6s.
Okay, so if you roll those 3, read them out, and then roll one more and read that number out to me.
Yeah. 4, 4, 3, and 5. Ooh.
Okay, and then we'll do that 6 times in total.
1, 4, 4, 1.
Okay.
6, 5, 3, and 6. Wow.
Okay.
1, 1, 6, and 1.
Okay, that's going to be what we call your dump stat. Think about it now. Think about where you want that dump stat to be.
The wisdom, maybe.
Right.
5, 4, 6, and 3.
Okay, cool. And one more.
Oh, one more. Oh. 1, 6, 4, and 4.
So for all of those who are watching,
faster than Luna, I assume.
That was way faster than Luna, yeah. In fact, I think that was about the time it took us to do the first roll. Also didn't help because, again, it's really interesting for me explaining the same thing to the same person, but not the same person, because then I'm having to change the way I think to have that conversation. So for those of you who are out there watching, going, right, I've been watching this, I'm here because I know Danny, or I'm here for the DID, and you keep talking about this D&D, and so far I've watched you make the Chaos Collective roll dice and say out numbers. What does this mean? We will actually build these potentially on screen, but just so you know, what we do with these stats is to roll your stats. In D&D, the stats are dexterity, strength, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. And these stats determine your abilities in certain skills. So, for example, anything that's fighting based or climbing, stuff like that would be, athletics would be a strength skill. Talking your way out of situation would be a charisma skill. So if you heard last time we talked about Luna probably having high charisma, again, Anita would probably have to have high charisma. Now, what's quite interesting about that charisma is it doesn't mean that just because someone has high charisma, they're very sociable or very chatty. It just means they're good with their words. So it's really interesting to have Luna, high charisma, and Anita potentially with high charisma, because they're going to be very different high charismas. But also Anita will have to have a high skill in her dex for the gunslinging purpose as well. So what we do when we roll stats is you roll 4 d6. Now, Anita, if you hold up a d6.
Yeah.
It's basically a normal dice. This is what, for the rest of you sitting out there right now, are going, that's just a dice. That's not a dice. That is a d6. There's a whole range of dice. That's a d6. If you could see the rest of the set, you'd understand why we have to give it a number. We just can't call them dice. See, you can see they're all different shapes and they're all different styles, and they've got different numbers on them. It's D4, D20, D12, D6, and there's a D8 there.
There's a D10 in the other pot because that's for the man. We play Vampire the Masquerade and everything's D10s.
Yeah. And that's an interesting point, because we're not, although this is a D&D thing, RPGs, you don't have to do this. So we've chosen D&D to do this. You don't have to do this in D&D. You could do this with any system. Different system uses different dice. Vampire Masquerade is D10. Shadowrun is a D6. Some are the polyhedral set. But so for now, I got Anita to do, and you saw I got Luna to do it, and Danny finished off, to roll 4 d6, and you drop the lowest score. So for example, on the first set it was 4, 4, 3, 5, so we're going to drop the 3. Once you've gone through and you drop all the lowest numbers, you add those up. That's where you get to your base stats. So for anybody who's watching going, but why are we doing these numbers? We don't understand. That's why. For those of you who are there going, Kat, we've already done the numbers for Luna. Why aren't we doing that sheet? It'll come. We want to get all the characters sheets, all the alters, get an idea and a feel, and then we will take to the next stage.
Yeah. we thought it'd be nice to kind of let you all know who's being created, so you get a feel for how to create different characters, and more importantly, from like the DID side, for you to hopefully meet each of us. But if you don't get to meet us in person, Danny can hopefully explain to you what we're like, so you can see the difference.
Yeah.
In who we are. Is like alters aren't just these weird, crazy things that are intent on killing someone. Just stupid. We are people in our own right. We have our own likes, dislikes, personality types, because we're all different personalities. So hopefully, if you've watched Luna, you should see there's a difference between me and Luna. Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. I mean, it's barely noticeable.
Yeah, you can't really tell. If Danny's in a bit of a sulky mood, she's more similar to me. But even me and Danny, are very different, because somebody I don't care. I'm just not as emotionally invested in stuff as Danny is. So I still get excited, but I'm like, yeah, cool. That's as excited as I get generally. Whereas Danny will at least do the yay thing that I don't do very well.
No, that was your attempt at doing Danny's excited, wasn't it? Yeah.
That was, yeah. I don't do excitement very well.
So that is you done up until that point.
Done.
That was quick and beautiful and lovely. And there was something we were hoping to get onto at the end. You said if we remembered.
Yeah. What I'll do is ask you what it's been like, because I'm assuming it's really interesting people watching. But what's it like for you now that you have met basically 3 alters, but you're looking at the same person? So yeah. What's it like to kind of?
It's several different things, because obviously having these conversations with you guys is, I know at some point that I'm going to be speaking to an alter. You know, we went into this with that knowledge. It was really interesting having the switch last video, because we sort of, even though I've met Luna before, so I've had a stronger connection with her.
Yeah.
That actually surprised me how keen she was to come out and to announce herself to me, which is actually really nice, and it made me feel very I'll be honest, one of the things that has made me feel very accepted and comfortable, because again, when we first started talking about this, Danny was like, I'm not sure whether they're going to tell you it's them, or she's like, I don't know, you know, it depends how they're going to feel, you know, because we started talking about this some months ago. It was early on in still, so she's like, I don't know how comfortable they'll be coming out, also they might not know you. So actually, when you messaged me today and said, by the way, it's Anita, just you know, and I was like, oh, so there was actually something quite nice from my point of view, feeling accepted enough that you're all comfortable so far in telling me who you are. That's nice, because I know that means that I have an acceptance and I have a place within
your circle.
I mean, yeah, got a place in that life. It is strange to a degree, but not really. It's kind of like when you hang out with someone one day and they're really super hyper, and then the next day they're retired. So it is that kind of peaks and troughs. But I'm beginning to start identifying the different mannerisms and sort of seeing where the overlaps are. So, like you said earlier, when Danny's feeling a little bit pissed off, she's quite a bit similar to you. And when Danny is excited, she's got similarities to Luna, but then there's vast differences as well. So it's been really interesting for me to see where those overlaps come, and where the distinct differences are. And I can, like, even look at you now from your mannerisms, your the way you sit is so very different from the others.
Yeah.
But that's because it's you. But that's, I think I can see where, and we talked a bit about this earlier before we start filming, I can see where some of the pain and hurt comes from, and therefore where some of the maybe aggression or stigma or incorrect handling of someone who's supporting someone with DID, where it comes from, you know, the fact that in essence you do meet a different person at times, you know, and we were saying earlier that sometimes when the switch happens, it is kind of like the person you were talking to who's just fucked off out of the room. They're just done, and there's no, you know, goodbye or anything. It's just like getting up and walking out.
It's really rude at times.
Yeah, but it actually, there is 100 things that go into that happening, both negatively and positively. You know, obviously the switch with Luna was a positively triggered switch.
Yeah.
So it's understanding that partly what I do or say might be the cause of it, or not necessarily the cause, the trigger, and the sort of inspiration for it, but also understanding that there's nothing personal from it. You know, when Danny switched out, it wasn't that Danny was like, oh, I'm really bored of Kat now. God, I wish someone else would have. I really wish someone else would talk to her. Like, Luna, can you just? She's so annoying. And even when Luna got bored of the dice rolling, that wasn't because, you know, it wasn't Luna's thing, and so she just actually was like, oh, you know, faded off and back. And again, it's not insulting. It's not like Luna's like, oh, I'm done with you now. Oh.
Yeah, no, it's I'm getting a little bit bored. Danny would have been wanting to come back and be like, oh, well, you know what you're doing here. I don't. Yeah. I've done my bit. And
Luna basically was there to discuss the unicorns and the exciting. And then I think it was very much more that, actually, I'm doing a thing now I don't really understand. And she had said a couple of times that she could hear, like, Danny was sort of in the background. Yeah. So I kind of guess that was almost like an internal conversation where Luna's like, well, this isn't really my thing. I'm now stuck doing this thing I don't really get. And there's Danny going, let me do it. I want to do it. Let me in. But it is one of those things, again, it's not something I'd necessarily, you know, I went into this knowing that Danny has dissociative identity disorder, knowing that, you know, I'd watched the other videos. I've met both Luna and yourself, we think, at Comic-Con. Actually, you can answer it. Did you meet me at Comic-Con?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, that's cool. Because Danny said she thought you did. But again, sometimes that's the other interesting is Danny's not necessarily knowing 100%.
Doesn't have full awareness of all the switches and stuff yet, because there's still elements of denial there for her, because it's a huge thing to accept. One, that you've got a mental illness of any description, and secondly, to realize that you are not just one person. You have got multiple people inside you, all of which have different likes, dislikes, and have a right to their own different wants and needs being met. And then when you look back on your life and realize, oh, the problem in this relationship or with this friendship was because they got on really, really well with me, but they didn't get on very well with an alter. So all the bad things was actually you were arguing with an alter. And it's strange, but some people can see it as being very manipulative, because there is that stigma of, well, you can just pretend that you didn't do something, or you can go and do something and then just pretend it didn't happen because you've got like the amnesia stuff. And it's like, yeah, people can do that, just like anyone can lie, but why would someone create this as a reason for it if they don't?
It's the same thing, you know, like with a lot of the sort of mental health statements. I was actually interesting. I was reading some responses. I think I can't remember what the tag was called on Twitter. It was something about questions that people have asked disabled people, and that kind of idea about either, you know, you're not looking enough, or, you know, or you don't look like you are, and this idea of, you know, oh, well, you know, oh, you've got, you know, you're bedridden. Oh, I'd love to be bedridden. It'd be like a holiday, and this idea that quite often, you know, people who don't have that be like, oh, well, that would be real. I can see the advantage. I'd love to have Dick, because then I could just pretend that wasn't me. And it's like, yeah, but you also don't understand, and obviously this is one of the things we're trying to highlight with this, you also don't understand what it's like to suddenly wake up and realise, or come to and realise that you're drinking maybe a drink. Or, for example, as Danny has told me, some people liking to eat meat because the rest of the collective aren't a fan of meat.
I love meat. I am like the biggest carnivore, and Luna is the biggest vegetarian.
Yeah.
I think she'd be vegan if she could.
Yeah. So there's this idea of you know, technically you could be sitting down to a steak, and if you leave and Luna comes through, suddenly, you know, it all seems very fun and games. So like, it'd be great to have another, pretend I was this person for this event and this event, and I could pretend I didn't do that really stupid thing because it wasn't me, it was my other self. But actually, in so many of Danny's stories, there is this kind of fear, or like this actually quite dark, traumatic element of just coming to and not realising what you've done.
Yeah.
Or why you're in a place. You know, it's a story
very frustrated that the cup of tea that you made 2 minutes ago is cold, which means like half an hour's passed, and you have no idea what you've done. And this, it is a superpower to a degree, because we are able to go, okay, this needs doing, and can just switch into that mode, and that part of life can be done. But at the same time, there's all these little things that people just don't see, and it's a very scary, very weird disorder to live with.
I can imagine. I spend most of my time, obviously, me and Cole discuss it a lot because we have that connection. And she's now started watching the videos, so thank you, Cole, for watching. And all the other people I know who are, you know, I know that I think Martina's starting to watch these, and I believe my other half's been watching them, and I know, you know, Hanno has, and there's so many of you. Like, I see the responses that you get on Twitter now, and some of the comments on YouTube, and I'm like, oh, that's so-and-so's come over. So, like, so many people from the D&D community are coming over and getting really interested, and
it's really nice to see.
Yeah. And
there was a lovely comment on the last one. I can't remember the name of the lady that did it, but that was a joy to watch. Luna is such like a perfect new starter to D&D.
Yeah. Oh, she was. Luna was a beautiful new starter. Her passion and her excitement. I wish I could have more new starters like that.
It was so nice to read. But for me and Danny, who have been playing D&D for years, to read that someone saw us as a newbie, we were like, what? Yeah. We've played this game for years, dude.
Yeah, but you do know why she told me why she's never played D&D with you guys before, because you all play boring characters.
Oh. Why are characters boring?
Because they're probably not magical enough and sparkly enough.
No, they're not. They're usually quite dark.
Yeah.
Evil, manipulative type characters.
Yeah.
It's rare that we do the fun ones because we have a Luna, so we live like that. So we like to have an element for the for the darkest.
Yeah, we don't need to get our fun kicks during D&D because we've got Luna for that.
Luna.
Yeah, but the rest of us don't have a Luna, so.
No, that's true.
But no, she I think that's because none of you and Danny are not going to build a sparkly unicorn that is a cheerleader.
No, we're really not.
And that's why she's not done D&D yet.
I wonder how that kind of character would fit into World of Darkness. Because our partner, a few of our friends have like huge World of Darkness campaigns, so they do like werewolf, they do mage, Mage Ascension, and Vampire the Masquerade, obviously. And I'm like, how on earth would you fit in some bright, sparkly thing into that world? I don't think it would mesh.
So, question: which of the games do you play? Or do you
I love the World of Darkness games.
Okay.
I like Pathfinder. I haven't played Shadowrun for ages. I like Shadowrun, and I love D&D. So most of the games I will be there. Oh, and Dark Heresy. I really like Dark Heresy.
I was gonna say, so you're there even if you're not actually playing. You're there for most of the games. Because Danny said she thinks that whoever's playing Vampire Masquerade in the other game may not be the same person because the writing changes.
Yeah, I play a lot of I think we have a character called Kilios, who's a Tremere, and she's a bitch, and I love playing her. But me and Danny will be co-conscious a lot of the time because sometimes she'll be wanting to do something really nice, and I'm like, fuck no, Kilios won't do that. Do this instead.
Nice to be nice, Danny. Go away.
Yeah, but Danny did mess up. She broke Masquerade by making like a sword fly out of someone's hand, and I'm like, great, we broke Masquerade. I'm like, the GM's gonna kill us now, and I'm like, going, please don't kill us. He's like, you broke Masquerade. I'm like, no, he threw the sword at me. We didn't magically call it to us.
That's the point when you go, no, I did not break Masquerade. Danny broke Masquerade. But Anita should not get punished for this.
Exactly. And he's like, fight it among yourselves. He's like, it happened in game.
Whoever was there at the time.
Yeah, it's like, this happened. It's almost like Laura calling Travis a Critical Role because he's messing up Jester. It's like, it happened in game, sorry.
My bad. Okay, so I can that's because obviously she was saying that, and again, this is, you definitely seem to have, because you're the guardian, you said I really liked your analogy, by the way, of being a hacker, and that's how you have more of an oversight, because Danny was explaining that certain memories filter through, but majority of it is your information. But she did say that she was aware that you have a connection throughout. So I really liked your analogy of being a hacker. But you seem to have much more of an awareness of what the collective
I know everything. So I know how many of the alters there are, and I'm not going to tell you. I know all of the memories, but they don't hold them as mine, so they're not bothered by me. So I can talk about everything and be like, this happened. It was crap, but it's life. I know where everyone is. I know how their states are. I know what goes on. But Danny isn't ready for all of that. So any memories that she needs to have, because I have that kind of hacker power, is I can transport the memories from the trauma holders into Danny to kind of say, look, this is what happened. And if she's not ready to do it, I can put a password block basically on that memory and keep that wall there, so she has no access to it at all. But sometimes there'll be situations or triggers that will happen that will override that, and it's almost like a virus breaks through the firewall and starts leaking data through.
You are such a different type of geek to Danny. It's awesome because for me, I am both a comic book geek, but also a data and server and IT geek. So, this is, as I said before, it's like a beautiful friendship because I get to please all my aspects with all the different alters. Really interesting comment, and I'm not going to ask how many there were, but that was a really interesting comment. A comment there of the fact that this idea that you've got this bigger picture and of where everybody is at. Yeah. Right. Do we think we've done it today?
I think we've done enough. We've spoken a lot. Hopefully it's been a good episode for everyone.
Let us know your feedback on the differences. Let us know, right? So obviously I've given my feedback on what it's been like starting this with Danny, having a brief interlude with Luna, picking it up with Anita. But we'd really like to hear what your feelings are, what you've taken from watching the difference, like how it's been for you.
Yeah, do you notice a difference? Can you hear what Kat hears? Do you see what Kat sees?
I mean, I'm really sorry if you do hear and see what I see, because my brain is just... But no, let us know whether you've picked up on some of the mannerisms. Some of them are easier, obviously, but especially seeing Anita this week, and like I said, if you haven't watched the one with Luna, definitely go back and watch last ones with Luna, because I'd love to hear what people that feedback on that sort of real difference. And if you can see the differences between Anita and Danny as well, then you've been really paying attention.
Yeah, because we are very similar, but we're supposed to be, because I'm the chief protector. So if people are meeting Danny in a situation that's new, chances are you're meeting me. I can just pretend to be Danny really, really well.
Yeah, because both you and Luna work are fairly, I'm guessing, the two for different reasons, that you both have quite a lot of similarities to Danny, because you're the ones usually masking as Danny. Because the first time I met Danny, she was like, got to the top of the stairs, and then I don't really remember anything till we got to MCM, and I was like, no, I think we had Luna. And then she was like, and then I don't really remember much afterwards. It's why she thinks you came out. So right, well,
her memory's just very faded.
But now we know who has the memories.
Yes.
At least I know now.
Yeah, if people want to know stuff, they're like, Anita, it's like, what happened here? I'm like, I ain't telling you.
It's my secret.
Yeah, there's sometimes where I will tell people if I think it's him. So like with our partner or with some of our close friends, if something's happened or might happen that will be a problem for Danny, then I will say, this is going to be a problem due to this that she doesn't know about. So they can at least be on guard, because Danny will be like, I don't know why this is happening. I don't know why. And she's not ready to know why, but her friends know why. So it's like everyone kind of keeps this little secret to keep her safe until she's ready to know why.
But I guess you make the decision to balance whether, because sometimes it's not helpful for the support group to be keeping a secret, but sometimes they do need to know that information to be able to support Danny best. So you're obviously making those decisions based on, is it better to keep them keep a secret from her or to protect her? So
sometimes it's a need to know, and it's she doesn't need to understand why this is a problem, but you need to know that it is a problem for her and she's got a valid reason for it. It's not just a little thing that she's making a really big deal out of. It's a little thing, but it relates to this huge thing.
Which is,
So.
Well, I think we're going to leave it there. But Anita, it's been a pleasure to properly get to meet you as you and not
And understanding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we will have another one of these in a few weeks' time.
Yeah. I'm sorry for the delay, guys, but you know, life happens.
Yeah, I'm gonna put a tweet out that will have gone out before this goes out, but in case I haven't done a tweet before this goes out, because you know it's me and I'm really bad at these things. We've had some stuff, life. I mean, you can probably understand, bearing in mind the topic at which we discuss.
Yeah, we discuss mental health. It's gonna happen. There'll be delays. We're gonna try and do it every fortnight, but there may be a gap week here and there
when we have some things. But you know, it's been a pleasure, Anita. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye, everybody.
I can't do that. Bye.